Some of the things that I'm going to talk about, I don't even think I've shared some of these experiences with my wife. And I'm not going to talk about them to gain sympathy, because that's not what I'm after. What I'm after is strengthening my weight loss journey by healing my whole self, not just my weight problems. So as we go through this, I really want to again say that some of these might not come across as a big deal to some people, but you have to understand the mental and emotional toll it took on me, and how some of that experience led to destructive behaviors for most of my adult life, for sure. Let's start from high school. I had a counselor in high school, and this is something I have not shared with many people, very few. But I had a counselor in high school who brought me into her office and ridiculed me because I had missed a day of school where we were supposed to have some kind of written assessment test. And it was some state thing. I don't remember all the details, but it was like supposedly super important. This is my junior year in high school. My junior year of high school was challenging for a lot of different reasons, but a lot of it had to do with self-esteem issues I had during that time, and the fact that I was working a job and trying to go to school and marching band and a whole bunch of other stuff, and it was just too much to handle. But she pulled me in her office, chewed me out basically for missing this test when I was legitimately sick, told me that the only time that I'd be able to make it up was like the next year, in my senior year, and then proceeded to tell me about where I was sitting with my grades, and then absolutely told me that I would never amount to anything in life. And I quote, that's exactly what she said. And, you know, as a 16-year-old kid, hearing that from somebody I'm supposed to look up to, somebody who was supposed to be somebody that was there to help me and inspire me, was pretty discouraging, and certainly didn't help with my mental and emotional state as a young adult. A couple weeks later, I was doing a speech and speech class, and I had given what I thought was a pretty good speech. And I had a teacher that was, to be quite honest, she was a bit of a feminist. In fact, she read a lot of feminist books in class while we were supposed to be doing stuff, you know, when she was actually supposed to be teaching, but never did. Anyways, so speech class, I gave this speech, and we were supposed to write the speech down on note cards for her, and then give the speech by memory. Now, I thought I did a great job with it, but I got to the end and she stood up and also told me that I would never amount to anything, and she actually tore my cards in half and threw them in the garbage. So, two experiences in high school that were just pretty devastating to me. My reactions to them at the time was I tried not to care, but it was still very hard. Again, coming from a teacher, somebody who's supposed to inspire kids to be better than what they are, somebody who's supposed to teach me what I was supposed to be doing in life, and here you are telling me that I'd never amount to anything. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not true. I've done quite well actually in life, although I haven't always realized that. You know, I have a family, I have a home. I've rarely been without a job. Were they always the best jobs in the world? No, but right now I work for the state of Idaho, and I love it there. And, you know, I went to school, I went to college. That was another thing the counselor told me I would never do, was go to college, because I would never, ever succeed. So, anyways, I did go to college. In fact, I went and got a master's degree, and, well, the rest is history. The other two things, or two people I want to talk about, one that was detrimental to me early in life, and one that has recently, in the last year and a half, actually been a huge inspiration to me. The first one, I'm not going to name names because that's really not fair, and I've really tried to forgive these people over the course of my life anyways, and just to move on. But when early 2000s, when I was about 21, I worked for Sherwin-Williams Paint Company, and our store was a bit unique in the fact that not only did we sell paint, but we also had a commercial and carpet business that was run out of the back. And my job was we had accounts with a whole bunch of apartments and some other like multi-unit types of businesses where we had installers that worked for us. We provided the carpet goods, and they would call us and say, hey, I need this apartment redone. And it was my job to schedule those out, cut the carpet, get the installer set up to do which jobs they were supposed to do. And that was pretty much my main role, which was a lot different than the other guys in the store who tinted paint. Now, I did know how to tint paint. I did know how to do all the things that they did. I just didn't spend as much time doing it because I was busy taking care of this other, for lack of better terms, side business out of the store. And it accounted for a pretty good chunk of our sales and whatnot for the store, including profit. My manager there, though, however, and we also had another guy that was a lead, and both of them, I really, to this day, do not really understand what their deal was. But the manager in particular, he would have these monthly meetings, and in the monthly meeting he would have this program where I think in his eyes it was an incentive, but to me it's quite abusive, because he had what he called the mistint king, and every month whoever had mistinted the most gallons of paint would be the mistint king. And every meeting, at the end of it, he would take everybody over to Baskin Robbins, which was right next to our store, and everybody except for the person who ended up being the mistint king got ice cream. So a complete negative to like leave that person out that way. The other thing is, he actually, and I still can't believe this day and age, I don't know how anybody would ever get away with it, but he actually had a sign up that he would put your name up there for the entire month, labeled as the Mistint King. Well, most of the months, believe it or not, it ended up being our lead. And it was usually that way because he usually did the vast majority of paint mixing. He was the only full-time person, and well, so he did the majority of the work, which he always held in contempt to everybody else. He was always like, oh, I don't think you're doing enough. He was constantly in my face, and I'm like, dude, that's not even my role, and I understand I did what I could when I could, and when I wasn't doing the carpet stuff or the flooring stuff, I was helping out. But he obviously didn't see it that way. Anyways, in this one particular meeting, somehow I ended up with like some ungodly amount of mistints. And so I got my name put up there on the sign, and of course I didn't get the ice cream, which that really didn't hurt me that bad, but having my name up there, especially when I knew that the numbers were not correct, I even asked at the end of the meeting to see where the mistints were. And I was told by the lead and the manager both that, oh, well, we sold all the mistints off to some painter or something. And I was like, so you're telling me I'm getting blamed for all this stuff that I know that I didn't do? And being made an example of when I know for a fact that it wasn't my fault. But they didn't care. Neither one of them cared at all. All the lead cared about was it wasn't him that month. And the manager, he was just spiteful. I mean, we're talking about a manager who constantly pulled me into his office to berate me about anything and everything. And like why I even stayed there as long as I did is beyond me. But I was trying to please him because he was my leader. I tried to do everything that I could to make him happy and make him succeed. And it obviously was never appreciated. I mean, I got pulled in one time because I had sold some flooring to somebody, and because the person was a friend of mine, got accused of basically giving them a discount that I shouldn't have given them, and was told that I should be fired over it. I got written up for it anyways, and basically told that if that ever happened again, that it definitely would be fired. And all I did was follow the policy as I understood it, but that wasn't good enough for him. Also, that I never had actually known what the policy was on flooring, or that it was different than the paint. So anyways, it's just that kind of stuff. One time I went on vacation and I had a desk that I worked off of that had all of my appointments stuff and just organized stuff. Well, it didn't make sense to him, so he decided while I was on vacation to go through my desk and reorganize it. He threw a bunch of stuff out that I actually needed. One of them actually was some loan documents where I just bought my first home. He threw them in the trash. Didn't even care to look and see what they were. It's personal stuff, and it was in my personal folder. Like, he had no business even going through it, let alone going through my desk and reorganizing it the way he thought it should be. Anyways, just a lot of abuse, in my opinion. And I often suffered mentally and emotionally from his coaching. Another time, as I said before, my role was different than the other guys, which was strange because that's what he always explained, but yet he never actually backed me up on it ever. So this one particular time, we'd gotten in a large order off of a semi truck. It was all paint. There was a pallet of 5-gallon buckets of some paint that I'd never even seen before. I didn't know what it was for. A lot of times when that kind of stuff came in, it was usually like a special order and it was going out the door to somebody in particular. Well, they put it on a pallet and left it in the middle of the back warehouse where all the carpeting and flooring was stored and where I worked, and left it there. And their intent, I found out later, was that to see how long it took me to take the initiative to put it away for them. Now this is what they told me after about 4 or 5 days when I asked them, like, who's this paint supposed to be for? And they're like, oh, it's not for anybody. It's just a new stock item. We were just waiting to see how long it would take you to notice and put it away. Come on, guys, really? I mean, again, not my role, but when that kind of stuff happened, I helped out when I could, but I was busy. I was busy doing my job. But again, they never ever saw it that way. They just thought that I was being lazy or didn't care or something, I don't know. But like I said, the coaching afterwards about the whole thing was derogatory. Multiple times I was told by both of them how stupid I was, how incompetent I was, and I was like, for somebody being incompetent, I'm in charge of like a third of your freaking business. But I suffered a lot. There were nights, like I said, I don't even know how much of that my wife even knows, but it hurt a lot, and it caused me to have a lot of self-esteem issues, where I pretty much felt like I was pretty worthless most of the time when I worked there. It was hard to even go into work because I knew what it was going to be. I mean, another time I got ridiculed because they had me go on a paint delivery because I was available that day. I didn't have a lot going on. So they sent me out on a paint delivery. It was early in the morning. I had to go to class later because I was actually going to school at the time as well. And, well, I stopped by McDonald's. It was completely empty drive-through in our work van, and grabbed a breakfast sandwich and headed down the road. Well, the next day, my boss pulled me into his office and chewed me out for 30 minutes about a customer seeing me take the van through the drive-thru. And the stuff that I was carrying wasn't even for that person. So like to this day I don't understand what the big deal was. But it wasn't like that was uncommon. A lot of the guys did that kind of stuff, and nobody ever got talked to about it. But like I said, I got chewed out for 30 minutes, told how big of an idiot I was because somebody saw me, and how big of an idiot I was for destroying the image of the store and the delivery service and all kinds of stuff. And just I almost walked out that day, but I mean I left his office in tears because I just didn't understand what was so terrible that I had done. It wasn't like the delivery was delayed because of it or anything. Like, I got the paint there long before the painter expected it to be. So it's just that kind of thing that, you know, I think, yeah, I got written up for that too. He even pulled the McDonald's bag out of the garbage can and wrote on it, "What the blank," with a question mark, and handed it to me in the office. I'm still don't understand what kind of leader does that kind of thing to their people. You know, if things are going wrong, leaders should blame themselves, not other people. I've been in leadership positions and gone through leadership training. As a teenager, I was involved in leadership training. I trained other kids and other adults about leadership concepts, and none of that is what a leader really is. So let's go back to the positive. I want to talk about the positive person now, because that's enough of dwelling on the past. Even though I think it's important to know what kinds of things we've gone through that have helped us create these destructive behaviors. In my case, bad self-esteem, depression, and whatnot. My outlet was food, and that is, and quite honestly, that's not even the worst stuff that I've had happen to me in regards to leadership and whatnot, or from leaders. But about a year, actually it's been almost year and a half, 2 years maybe, I met somebody through my wife, David Denning. David is a retired from the Air Force. He served in, I'm not entirely sure how many deployments, but many deployments in Afghanistan and other places. His job, from my understanding, part of it was that he was kind of a target person who basically put a beacon on something and said, here's the target, send the missile or whatever. I said, I don't think that's the only thing that he did. I know that regardless, the dude has seen some stuff, David. You know that, and I know that with things that you've shared, and I don't want to go into too many details about things that he's shared with me, but I say that just with the fact that, you know, for several years I know he struggled with himself, PTSD, and through the grace of God, he has turned himself around. And I'm proud of him for that. But I also want him to know, and everybody out there, that that was such an inspiration for me. I love David like a brother. He's always there to talk to when I need somebody. I've worked on some projects for some things that he's working on with a nonprofit that he's set up, and his example and his kindness and his love for me has really been a big inspiration on me just finally deciding to make choices to change my life too. And I don't think he realizes how much of an inspiration that has really been, and I haven't really ever told him till now. So I hope he listens to this. I hope that he gets this far into the video to hear it. But David, thank you for being the example that you are, and for helping me and just being my friend and showing me love unconditionally. It's truly what our Savior wants us to do and wants us to be. And I'm grateful for his friendship. So with that being said, all things can be overcome. All things can be not forgotten, but forgiven. All things through God's grace can be healed. Because that's what God wants. If we're willing to take the steps, we can change. We can change attitudes, we can change behaviors, we can change self-image, and realizing that we are God's children, and realizing how special that is, which makes us all so special. And I almost want to leave that with everybody, and see you all in the very next video. I hope everybody has a fantastic day.